I tell you what, man, when you watch that intro, you get to watch it happen. You get to listen to it. Boy, that will fire you up. That'll remind you what it was like to be a fan when the U.S. men's national team cared. Or so I think. Anyway, welcome to 90 Plus One. I'm Dan Vaughn, joined by my fabulous co-host, Mr. David Gochner. How you doing, David? Long time no see.
Man, I just got to make sure all the equipment still works, that we still I had your number. I was like, who is this? Oh yeah. Oh, that's right. We do this thing. But yeah, man, no, listen, it's been far too long. And yeah, we got a lot to talk about. So yeah, man, been good though. How about you, buddy?
Good, real good. Yeah, I was gonna say when you get to be our age, you got to check to make sure the equipment's still working. You know what I mean? Yeah, I can't help myself. Excellent. Well, yes, absolutely. We do have a lot to talk about. We have been on hiatus for a bit. We're going to try to make this work, make it happen, Captain. We're aiming to record on Monday. We're recording now on a Thursday. Better late than never, I guess. And we're doing it on video, so now we're going to make people look at us.
Stepping it up. We got face made for video, so
True. Well, we have a face. That's true. You got a beard made for video, sir. About time people see that sucker if they haven't. Well, we're talking about the Nations League. And I would say the Nations League debacle, the Nations League letdown did not go the way I think really anyone expected. If I'm honest, really felt like people assumed a win, particularly in that match against Panama. And then it felt like whoever we got in the finals, if we lost to them, it wouldn't be the end of the world. But certainly we're expected to win this competition's Nations League. We've won it 3 years in a row, and it was expected that we were going to continue that. Not so, thanks to Mexico, our Nations League champions. But before we get to them, thanks to Panama, who took it to us. I guess my ask of you, Damon, what did you read on that Panama game? Yes, we lost in effectively the last minute. How did that feel? What are your thoughts on it?
Oh, I mean, it was gut wrenching. It was, it was shades of all the things that we've seen before. So much promise and so much expectation to just leave us sitting at the altar holding our proverbial in our hand. So, I'll speak for everybody when I say that, nobody expected those results. And God, I pray that that's just not good enough and that there's some serious soul searching. I like Pochettino. I like what he says. I like the way he does it. He's had success at a lot of different places. And, and he's got a lot of talent there. So it's not that issue, but it really, you started the show kind of let off with it is at some point you just start to wonder, do people just want to compete and want to just put it on the line? I listened to Pulisic's comments today about, are you guys going to recover for this? And he's like immediately talking about how everybody's got club games to play. Like, yeah, we know that 100%. We know that, but you're going to play a ton of club games. You're not going to play a ton more, national team games. And like, these are the games that mean something and lead up to something that's, you're trying to change your country's history. Milan's won a lot of Serie A championships. They've won some Champions League trophies. You're not going to do anything there to change the trajectory of that club in any meaningful way. Mm-hmm. There's something over here. So, we start to wonder, Dan, I think it was a tale of two games in a lot of ways too. Like, we dominated statistically in the Panama game. We just we weren't clinical when we needed to be. Aubameyang had a couple really good opportunities that I thought for sure he was going to tuck away. Even as the game went on, we saw it start to open up, and I felt in those last 10 minutes that we were going to be the ones that were going to get that goal, and instead it was Panama, right? And
it's interesting that you say that, because you're right. In the past, in games like this, we're the team that gets the goal at the end of the match, right? We're the one that, and everyone complains about the result because it wasn't good enough. We should have done more, but hey, we advanced, and it felt like that the whole time. You're watching and you're waiting and you're like, man, it's going to happen at some point. We're going to break through. We're going to score a goal. Don't know who it's going to be, but we're going to get one. And it just never came. And I think it's interesting that you talked a bit about Pulisic, because there have been some complaints about this team's heart when it comes to matches like this, and the difference between, say, a previous generation of U.S. men's national team players versus the current generation. And I try to stay away from those conversations too much. I think that a lot of times old timers like to get in and talk some crap about the kids. But the reality is that this generation is playing meaningful games in Europe, do have meaningful roles on their clubs. And maybe winning the Nations League isn't as important to some of these players. I'll tell you, you mentioned Pulisic. I thought Weston had an awful couple of games here. Just looked listless, looked disinterested. Still got to start because his last name is McKinney and he's done stuff for us in the past. But the things that he does, usually it's because that late arriving run into the box where they weren't expecting him, the gutsy, gritty tackle that frees up something, a long switch. Like these are the things that Weston does, and he just didn't bring any of that in this match. It's so frustrating to watch because we know what these players are capable of because we've seen it. We've seen them play, but they just don't seem to have the same heart and desire as either they had in the past or, and maybe it is true, not as much as say the previous generation. I thought it was interesting. You watch that Panama match and the celebration with Thierry Henry and with Waterman, which cool story. Not for a U.S. men's national team fan, but still a cool story as a soccer fan. And then you see Edu and Dempsey up there, and both of them look like someone pissed in their Cheerios. Like, this is not the result they were. Again, I think they're in the same boat as we were, expecting a goal to come because that's what the U.S. does in matches like this, and it simply just didn't happen. And it was somewhat shocking that it didn't happen. And then we move on to third place match when we get to play Canada. My ask of you, I think we were hopeful that we would see something different in that match, and I could point to one player that I thought delivered, and the rest were about the same. And that player, and I actually wrote an extensive article about him on Protagonist Soccer today about Diego Luna.
100% agree. The only bright spot. He was like a firecracker that just got dropped in the midfield. His late run to set up the goal was the perfect play.
Mm-hmm.
Work hard to receive the ball, get it, play a simple pass, make a long diagonal to draw the midfield out, and then slip in behind in the box, receive it, and then find it and lay off a perfect little pass for Aguiman to finish nice. And then Aguiman finished there again, super lucky, like bounces off deflection, a good keeper, like, by no means is that a clinical finish. So he could be 0 for 3 in goal scoring opportunities, and us really having some conversations about why can we not score goals at the national team level when these guys can score goals everywhere else in the world. I don't understand that, but nonetheless, Diego, the Luna, absolutely. He was a firecracker.
I'm a El Paso native. I live out here, out in West Texas, and Diego spent about a season and a half playing here for Locomotive, and I was always struck by his creativity, his ability to do things that you didn't expect, his constant drive, and it is so fun to watch, especially when you contrast it with the rest of the team, right? Like it was just it's like he was on roller skates and everyone else was walking, just making things happen. And it was frustrating to watch the other players not seem to feed off of him, almost to see it as they did not say this, I don't think, but it's almost like, hey man, relax. Like it doesn't matter. We're playing for third place here.
Yeah, dude, to me, it's wild. To your point, his change of pace and his difference in pace to what the standard was around him just stood out so clearly, and it always does at any level in any environment. But then on top of that, to have the tactical awareness to actually start and the selflessness to really he was not unwilling to track back and defend. He was getting stuck in on tackles, playing good supportive balls, trying to possess. Wasn't just we're going to knock it up, or when I'm not just going to dump it to my keeper. Like I'm going to actually get out of this space and try to get to my pivot, try to get to the other side of the field. Some of those things that you mentioned, Weston does real well for us. So no, 100%. I thought he was a super lone bright spot, and we didn't have much. Other than that goal scoring opportunity, there wasn't a whole lot to write home about, and the opposite, the inverse of the Panama game, statistically on paper, we got hammered. They, more shots against us, more shots on target, more time of possession, more corners. The only thing that we led in that match was fouls. That's not a great place to be.
And less red cards for coaches.
Yeah, there you go. Yep, Jesse Marsh making a statement, not afraid to open that mouth. That's for sure.
What did you think about that?
I just thought it was so crazy, man. Like I didn't even think it was a foul. So
it wasn't. At least
the
not
red
that
card
one.
call. Yeah, and like, is that the hill you're gonna die on, homie? Like, there's a
Yeah.
lot of soccer to play still at that point. And like, I just didn't understand what made that moment like the place. And apparently he said something that was like, I know it was demonstrative, but there was no yellow. Or I didn't see the first yellow. Maybe I missed it, but it was like straight red. Next thing I know, like Marsh is walking off. So I don't know what he said to the fourth or what he said to somebody else, but there had to be a little bit of foul language in there at some point, because you're not just getting kicked off the field for saying, "Come on, ref, that's a PK." Like, you know what I mean? They're not coming over and tossing you a straight red. So I'd be interested to hear that.
It would be interesting to hear, and I will say that some of the quotes that we saw after the match from the Canadian players were fired up by Marsh's reaction. They were into what he did, what he said, and I find that, like, I think that that's something that we should give Marsh credit for. I liked Marsh for a time, and then he became what I thought to be kind of insufferable. Just always correct, never wrong. Everyone else is making mistakes. I'm not. And since going to Canada, he has the biggest chip. He has a maple leaf sized chip on his
So
shoulder.
perfect. So perfect.
And can't seem to get over the fact that he was passed over. And give
for Mauricio Pochettino.
Exactly. If you
who are you? Have you looked at Wikipedia? Do you want me to send you some links here? Jesse, how many league trophies, how many Champions League games? Like, let's just stack it all up, buddy. How many different countries? Like, just put it all out there, buddy. Just let me know. You let me know. Happy to hear
it. And it's frustrating because now we've fed that fire. He got to win. And
100%.
I thought that Canada showed a lot of talent. Now, not enough to win Nations League, still came in third, which I guess puts us fourth behind Canada, Panama, and Mexico.
Good Lord.
The Mexico-Panama game, I know that we're not a Mexico or Panamanian podcast, but I was struck by how tight Panama was able to keep it with Mexico, which I think from our perspective should make us feel better about that. In the sense that, like, if the winner of Nations League also struggled to score goals, maybe it's a better thing that maybe it's not as bad that we lost to them. But two, I was also struck at how sad it was that penalty kick would come at the very end of the match because of one of the worst handballs I've ever seen. A handball so bad that people were saying that the people should check his bank accounts to see if it had been paid, which I don't believe that to be the case. But
it's CONCACAF. It's CONCACAF. It's CONCACAF.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong.
It's Panama. It's Panama. Like, you know what I mean?
I guess the state of it, as you look at that, as you look at the fact that we came in fourth to these teams, I kind of wonder where we're at as far as the competitive edge, because in my mind, we have the most talented lineup in CONCACAF, and yet we don't beat these teams. Very rarely are we more than the sum of our parts. We are parts, and hopefully someone can give us a moment of brilliance. And it's shocking that we're here, just given how many American names are on rosters all across Europe, which in my mind would be how you measure the success of just a nation's, soccer talent output. And yet we can't seem to win these kinds of games. And I don't know if it's a Potch problem.
No,
I don't think it is. I think it's a player problem.
I'm going to throw out one term that just keeps resonating and ringing in my head, and it's paper champs. We are paper champions. So, like, if we were playing FIFA All-Star World Trade Cards, you know what I mean? Whatever FIFA Ultimate Team, we'd have like the best Ultimate Team, and nobody could beat us in our Ultimate Team sessions. But you have to actually go out there and play, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so it's like shout out to Kevin Aubrey, my high school soccer coach. We played like fourth division in England. He used to always say, "But can you do it on a cold night in Middlesbrough?" And it's like, can you do it on a warm night in San Diego against Panama, like whatever it is, like, can you do it in an empty stadium in Southern California against Panama? Obviously not. Like, you know what I mean? And, we didn't even talk about that, but like, man, like who's planning this stuff? What are we doing? Like, you understand how the American culture works. Like, if you want people to come, you can't put games at 4 o'clock on a weekday or 2 o'clock on a weekday in a major metropolitan city. And like, by the way, do you want ratings? Because ratings are good and they sell TV revenue and sponsorship and all the stuff. Like, shout out to the US Open Cup for the deal they just signed to get
Mhm.
their like broadcasting deal. But like, it just makes no sense to me. I feel like if this is a precursor of what's to come with the World Cup, like we are fumbling the bag.
We are, yeah, and as we mentioned, I feels like the only thing that I took out of this couple of matches was that we need a player like Diego Luna in the middle of the field working with the players that we have. And if that means that we sub out Weston McKinney or some other nailed in starter, then so be it. Because what Luna brought clearly, if fully integrated and with players playing with him and used to his style, I can see positive results from him from his inclusion. Uh, we shall see. We do have two international friendlies coming up. One with Turkey on June 7th and one with Switzerland on June 10th. Both of those appear to be at home, if I'm looking at that correctly. I don't have where they're playing. I thought I could. Nashville, Tennessee is where they're playing Switzerland. I don't know about the Turkey match, but
Is that a
uh,
full international window, or is that another? Is that just like one of the, you know what I mean? The locals, like we're not going to get the international guys released, and it's going to be a mostly MLS roster.
I think it's that. I'm gonna have to look. I'm not 100% sure to have a solid answer for
I
you.
think you're right.
But I we got issues that we've got to fix, and I am concerned about where we're going at the moment, so close to the World Cup, because it's coming real fast, real quick, and we got to fix this now. It's big, and it might take. I really do think this. It might take benching some names that we've counted on in the past to make a point, and I hope that Pochettino feels confident enough in his gravitas, his position with the program to make that call, because it felt like watching that game, man. And then when they tried to sub off Pulisic and he refused to come off the field, that's scary right there, man. I mean, again, Pochettino's a big deal. I just think, maybe you don't call Pulisic one of these friendlies. Maybe you don't. You know what I mean? Like, make a statement, put these guys in their places. They're young men. They're going to respect that kind of activity.
No, listen, I thought there's always a part of me that realizes that losing at time, like yeah, but let me ask you, Dan, do you give up like two real proverbial Fs if we win another Nations League championship trophy? Like, is it
It's
like it's a cup that's going like on the sixth tier, like in the bottom in the corner, and we got a couple already, and we might put some marbles in there, or we might put some candy in there and put it on the front porch at Halloween. But like, it's not like everybody's like, oh my gosh, we're doing it. So if we have to cough up an L, like to your point, this is the L that hopefully is like the first bell of like, hey, PS guys, dial the F in because we got real stuff coming like within the next 14, 15 months. And you're not going to play qualification. So you're not going to get those rainy, hot, humid, crappy nights in Panama and all across Guatemala and whatever, wherever else. So we need some of these moments to start to, like, to your point, to reset. And so, I do have faith of any of the managers we've had. I do have faith in Pochettino. Like, he's been through some battles, he's been through some wars. So, but a good result, the good results need to start coming.
Indeed, they do. And there's still a little bit of time, and we are still a very talented roster. The question is, where is our mindset moving out of this? All right. Well, let's go into our segment, Founding Fathers, getting to know your founding fathers. Let's dig into the history of the United States. That's right. Joe Max Moore, born in 1971 in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Dad was the co-owner of the NASL Roughnecks, if you'll remember them.
Mm-hmm.
That's a while back. Will admit that. Played college ball at UCLA, as a lot of very talented U.S. players have. While at USA, played with future national team teammates Brad Friedel, Chris Henderson, and Kobe Jones. In college, he amassed 38 goals and assisted on 24 others in 65 games. Played in Germany with second division Saarbrücken. He played 25 games, leading the club with 13 goals. Helped kick off MLS, coming back, and MLS launched. Played with the New England Revolution in 4 seasons. Played 77 matches, scored 37 goals. In 1999, he signed with Everton for 3 years.
Wow.
But he wasn't, say, the best player for them. Didn't play great, but played 52 matches, scored 8 goals across those 3 years, played his entire contract. For the U.S. men's national team, Joe Max Moore scored 24 goals, which puts him 6th all time. He finished with an even 100 caps. He's in the National Hall of Fame. And it's interesting that rather than becoming a coach at the end of his career, he's since moved into real estate in California, said he was done with soccer. So
he's a smart man. He's a smart man. Way better money in real estate than coaching soccer, Chief.
Especially in California, particularly over the last 20, 30 years.
Yeah, I was going to say, getting into it in the early, late, mid-90s.
Mm-hmm. Apparently in 2022 at a tournament, I didn't catch the tournament, they created a drink called the Joe Max Moore, and it's simply half Sprite and half Fanta Orange mixed in the same glass. That's a Joe Max Moore, sort of in the, theme of an Arnold Palmer, but just with soda, because kids be wild like that. But yeah, that's a Joe Max Moore. So next time you're standing up in front of that soda machine, maybe make yourself a Joe Max Moore and remember your fathers. Joe Max Moore, one of the greats of a bygone era. Here's to you. That's not Joe Max Moore, I bet.
No, it's not, but I'm going to make one. I might turn it up a notch. We might have like an angry Joe Max Moore.
I love it.
Put like a shot of Jameson in there.
Get it fiery. Damon, fun stuff to sit down and talk U.S. men's national team. Not a fun series of results to talk about, but I'm thrilled to sit down and talk with you, my man. I hope you feel good about it.
No, I feel great about it. It's always good to be back in a familiar chair with a pretty face. So yeah, I love you, buddy. Always good to get back in the chair. And but I think the first part of that comes with being a U.S. men's national team fan. You know what I mean? We're gluttons for punishment, and we signed up for this tale of tears and abuse. So this is just another step in the journey. But hopefully, it's all leading towards Valhalla next July.
I literally said to my wife when that goal went in by Panama, when Waterman scored and was celebrating, I literally turned to my wife and said, I do not know why I cheer for this team. Which is
Kate Abdo sitting there like, what in the hell did I sign up? Get me out of here and get me back to England now. I'm not doing this CONCACAF crap anymore.
Excellent. We should be back very soon, within the next week and a half or so, to talk some more U.S. men's national team. We'll probably look at their performance in Europe, maybe dig into some classic stuff, and for sure, we'll continue to get to know our founding fathers. That's it for this episode of 90+1. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll be back very soon with more U.S. men's national talk. I'm Dan Vaughn, and he's Damon Gochner. We're out.